Kevin May, Editor-in-Chief of Phocuswire. Hi there. Dan Lynn, you're the co-founder of Zuzu Hospitality Solutions. You've got a lot of experience in this industry. When did you come across the problem here that you believe you're solving?
I think it was working at Expedia. So I ran Expedia's APAC business for a while, and we saw that little hotels, independent hotels, were really struggling to get the most out of these platforms, Expedia, Booking, Agoda. And as a result of that, I think they were getting increasingly squeezed out by the big chains. And little independent hotels deliver a fantastic hospitality experience for travelers, but aren't necessarily awesome at distribution, revenue management, all the sort of scientific sides that online is demanding. So we just saw an opportunity to build something that would help them compete with the big chains.
You claim on the website you're seeing revenue increases of 20 to 60%.
Yep. That's
pretty high, and you have to worry, or ask, what were they doing so wrong in the first place that they're actually able to increase their revenue up to, in some cases, 60% as a result of using some tools? Yeah,
so I mean, the average is 28, and that's, we've got 500 clients now, and we've delivered 28. We can see the sort of pre and the post. It's different things in different markets. So we work in some very, very developing online travel markets like Indonesia. Yeah. And there it's, I was managing 2 of the 5 big channels, but I was doing everything through the extranet. And now that I'm properly connected to an API, I can add 3, 4, 5, and then you can easily see a 60% uplift.
Yeah.
In a more sophisticated market, like we've got hotels in Singapore, we've got some hotels in a market like Taipei. Those are really sophisticated online travel markets. There, it's more on the revenue management side. So I had, maybe I had a basic rate and a peak rate, but I didn't really change those based on what my competitors were doing, or I didn't really change those based on, how full I am, and how full I am, how far out. So it's sort of the basics of revenue management. Because again, a little hotel has a GM, they're focused on running the hotel. They're not spending a lot of time thinking about this stuff. But by doing that, we know that the OTAs will reward you if you do more competitive rates. They're going to put you higher up in the sort order. So they're constantly optimizing for what's going to convert. We know we can sort of back solve that stuff and make sure that we're getting a bit more demand into the hotels earlier in the booking window, and then you can see these upsides.
You had your time at Expedia, and you've seen the OTAs just get bigger and bigger and bigger. Certainly in Europe, in particular, the rise of Booking.com was extraordinary over that 6 or 7 year period. Just from a wider market perspective, what do you think's going on with the power that those OTAs have? We're talking here about the power paradox and all these kind of things. What do you think's happening generally in the world of OTAs? Well,
look, let me try and answer that in a couple of ways. I think one is part of the reason that the OTAs are getting bigger and bigger and bigger is just they're still seeing a shift from offline to online.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a natural progression.
It's not played out everywhere in the world. If the Scandics are at 70, 80%, there's plenty of countries that are still at 20 to 30%. So that's part of what's pushing that. And then obviously you're seeing to an extent a consolidation around a couple of big players. Well, there's a natural advantage, I think, to scale, because the more scale you have, the more you can invest in technology, which means you can eke out those last few kind of conversion improvements, the last few sort of marketing optimization improvements. So as demand acquisition channels, which the big OTAs are, it kind of makes sense that over time you're seeing fewer and fewer. Now, it's not quite the duopoly that it's presented at. In our part of the world, Ctrip dominates in China, and GoAbibo dominates in India, and Traveloka in Indonesia, because there are still really local payment solutions and other very local expectations that you have to meet. So I don't think we're at we're not trending towards monopoly or even duopoly by any stretch. And look, these channels deliver new customers to hotels, as an acquisition platform, at a much cheaper rate than a hotel could find a person themselves. I mean, every hotel should have its own direct website for repeat customers. Yeah. But for a new customer, if you try to, if you're a hotel in Bandung, Indonesia, and you're trying to appeal to a traveler from the UK, you're not going to get that for 15% of your revenue if you try to do that yourself. Yeah. So these platforms have, as much as we, as hoteliers rightly we should push back on them and, keep as much control as they can and build their own channels. Smart hoteliers know that they need to use these channels and use them well, and that's why they continue to grow.
Yeah, and where does Google fit into all of this? Do you think from the vision of the hotels that you talk to, they're using your tool to help them with that channel?
Yeah.
What do they think about Google in the whole ecosystem as well?
So look, there's a part of Google which is if people have a really clear understanding of the hotel they want.
Yeah.
Then our hoteliers certainly think about, okay, that's a place where I should be participating, and I should be, if someone's out there searching for my property name, then we should be very active, and we help our hotels to get in there, to get their name in front of that traveler, to bring that
Classic
traveler direct.
SEO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
SEO, and even sort of some of the Google Hotel Ads type
Yep.
products. If it's a very directed search to that hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's then another part of Google, which is more of the sort of further up the funnel, maybe at the inspiration stage or the I know my destination type stage, where it's certainly we advise our hoteliers, you're going to struggle to compete one-on-one there with the OTAs, because if someone's still at the hey, I'm interested in traveling, or I'm interested in going to Yogyakarta, you putting yourself up as the option there, you're unlikely to convert or to monetize at the rate that Booking or Expedia can, and thus you're going to end up overpaying for that traffic. And so we advise our hotels to stay out of that until it's a little bit further down the funnel and more directed, and let the OTAs play in that space, because they can monetize something like I want to stay in Yogyakarta better than an individual hotel can.
Yeah, and just a little bit about Zuzu finally then.
Yeah.
I mean, and presumably the only way you can grow is by getting more customers, more hoteliers.
Yeah.
So what's the kind of the 2-year kind of projection that you're looking at for Zuzu?
Yeah, I mean, we are very much a direct sales model. We've got salespeople out there who meet with hotels. We also actually, we're starting to work with some of the OTAs as they're going out and talking about what they do in some of the markets. They're introducing us because they know that when we start working with a hotel, that its performance really improves.
Now that's interesting because Booking.com, fairly famously bought up a load of software companies to build Booking Suite, which is now perhaps less emphasis than it did initially. So now you get recommended by an OTA.
Yeah,
so
we get
this is
recommended by
like
some
a trusted
like that.
partner or something like that.
Yeah, because I think the OTAs recognize that most hotels want a truly independent technology partner, and maybe that's why Booking Suite hasn't grown as much as maybe they thought, because a good hotel wants someone who's a bit independent of an OTA and is not going to push them to only doing something with one and can be a voice of reason. But the OTAs also recognize that hotels want to do that, and they want to have, they need to work with multiple people. Yeah. And if they work with us, they get a more professional approach and a better partner out of that.
Okay. Dan, Lynn, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.